And it is now officially 6 o'clock. That's where I will turn this over to our wonderful hostess tonight, Jennifer Hoag, our Director of Legislative Services. And with that, have a wonderful session.
Thanks, Scott, and thank you to all of you for joining us. We are so excited that you could be here with us this evening to go over the information for Capitol Conference's Delegate Assembly, and we are so excited to be seeing you in just less than 2 weeks till Capitol Conference, so very exciting time for us here at OSBA. The purpose of our time together today is really to go over the agenda for the Delegate Assembly business meeting, to walk you through the procedures that are going to be used during that time to make sure that you are comfortable and ready to go. We'll talk a little bit about the legislative platform's purpose and the process that we go through to revise that each year. We'll go over everything that's on the agenda and the procedures that we're going to use for the meeting. And then we'll also talk about the items that are up for a vote this year so that you can be prepared as we move through. If you have questions along the way, please use the Q&A box that's available to you. We have staff that'll be monitoring that and answering things as we go. If there are things that they are not able to answer, we will go over those at the very tail end of the presentation. So I want to introduce the folks who are on the panel with me tonight. They are here in case you have questions that they specifically need to answer, but they're also the individuals who will be participating in Delegate Assembly and playing significant roles in that meeting. First, I want to introduce our OSBA president this year, Sally Green. Sally's waving. Our president-elect, Tom Patterson. Our president-elect nominee is Mary Cleveland. Dr. Kathy McFarland, who's the CEO at OSBA. Sarah Clark, our Chief Legal Counsel. Nicole Piscatani, who's the Deputy Director of Legislative Services. Milena Burney, our Legislative Services Consultant. And of course, Renee Gibson, our Senior Administrative Assistant, who takes care of all the logistical things for our meeting to make sure we're successful. So thank you to all of you for the roles that you play in making sure that we have a successful delegate assembly. I also want to give a special recognition to Mary Remsen. Mary has served as our parliamentarian for many years and does an outstanding job. She is a professional registered parliamentarian with the National Association of Parliamentarians, as well as a certified professional parliamentarian teacher. And there is a write-up in your delegate handbook with more information about Mary and her expertise. So we're just very glad that she could join us not only this evening to help answer questions, but to be there at Delegate Assembly to help us through that as well. So I want to start by talking about the platform. The legislative platform really sort of directs all of the work that Nicole, Milena, and I do at the State House and giving us direction on the thoughts and feelings and positions of our members. It is an ongoing document that's constantly evolving every year, and it conveys those positions to legislators, policymakers, the public, and the media on a variety of issues. And like I said, it guides our advocacy at the State House. And so we're very glad to have a document that goes through this process and can be used in that way. So the platform process kicks off every year in January, and we send out to every member district a call for resolutions, asking districts to take a look at that platform and submit any recommended changes that they might have by passing a board resolution. We collect all of those board resolutions, put them together to be presented to the Legislative Platform Committee that meets in August. That platform committee is a diverse group of districts from all of the 5 regions of OSBA, and they consider each of those submitted resolutions to make recommendations to the Delegate Assembly. And then, of course, the Delegate Assembly meets at Capitol Conference and makes decisions about whether or not to include those items in the legislative platform. And in order for that to happen, 75% of the delegates voting and present must vote in favor of that happening. So a very high bar that ensures to us that that is the will of our members. Just to give you an overview of the meeting, it will be chaired by our president, Sally Green. We'll be meeting on Monday, November 11th at 2:30 in the Union Station Ballroom. It's the same location as past years if you've attended as a delegate. The room will be open beginning at 2 o'clock for delegates. So you're welcome to line up ahead of time, but those doors will not be opened until 2 o'clock. Please don't wait until 2:30 to rush in, but anytime between 2 and 2:30, you will be having access to the room. As you come into the meeting, that's the point in time when we will be giving you your delegate ribbons, and we will do that once we have scanned your conference badge at the door to verify that you are your district's designated delegate. You'll get your delegate ribbon. And then also that allows us to sort of keep track of how many individuals we have in the meeting. We have to have a quorum in order to conduct business. And so when you scan in, that helps us know. You'll also see noted there that we'd like you to scan out if you need to leave to use the restroom or take a phone call or something, and that will help us deduct individuals from our quorum count, and then we can scan you back in when you arrive again. And once you get that green light that you have been recognized as the delegate for your district, you'll get your delegate ribbon at that time. Our meeting's going to be conducted in accordance with Robert's Rules of Order. And as I stated before, Mary Remsen will be there and available to help us with all of our parliamentary needs and points of order should they be raised or need to be addressed. Our voting procedures are very similar to previous years. You will vote by holding up a brightly colored card. You'll get those cards again when you check in at the delegate assembly. You get scanned, you'll get your ribbon and your voting card. Those who are in favor of the question will be asked to raise their card, then they will lower their cards, and those opposed will raise their cards. President Green, as the chair, will determine the vote and announce the results. If it's too close for her to call, by just looking out into the audience, we will take a vote count, and we'll have OSBA staff on hand ready to count those cards so that we can get an accurate count before moving forward. If a delegate wishes to speak, we're going to have 3 microphones at the front of the room. You are welcome to go to the microphone closest to you and stand in a single file line. There will be an OSBA staff member assigned to each of those microphones. When you approach, please just let them know what you're approaching the microphone to discuss. You might have an amendment or a question, something procedural. You might want to speak in favor of the issue on the floor or against the issue on the floor, but please let them know, and then they will give you a sign that corresponds with the purpose of your comments. The reason we're doing it this way is to allow President Green to sort of look out into the audience and be able to see if someone has a procedural issue. She can recognize them first so that we can get that taken care of. It also serves the purpose if maybe, we've had 15 people speak in favor of something, and she can look out and see we have one person who's against, to help sort of balance that conversation and call on that person a little earlier. So please make sure that you're letting that staff member know the purpose of your comments and getting a card. Once an individual has been recognized by President Green, you will then state your name, the district you're representing, and the purpose of your comments, and then go into your comments. Each individual is limited to 3 minutes, and you cannot speak more than once on the same question until everybody wanting to speak on that question has had the opportunity to speak. We will have a timer displayed up at the front of the room that will count down from 3 minutes, just so we can ensure fairness, that everybody's getting their full 3 minutes, and that there's no question about maybe somebody got more time or someone got less. The agenda for the day is printed in the delegate book. You can see we'll start with a call to order, the introduction of special guests. We do have an addition to special guests. We will be having Major General John Harris with the Ohio National Guard addressing delegates as well. We have Superintendent of Instruction Paul Kraft, the Ohio Teacher of the Year. We'll be giving out our Kids Pack Awards, and then moving into the business portion of our meeting. During that time, we'll hear a report from the Rules and Credentials Committee. You as delegates will be asked to vote on the credentials report, which will just be a report on how many delegates are in the room and establishing that we have a quorum present to proceed with our business. The second vote that you'll have on the report from the Rules and Credentials Committee is the vote on the rules reports. And so you'll be asked to approve the proposed rules for the assembly to operate under. In your delegate books, those can be found on pages 8 and 9 of that delegate book. Delegate books have been sent out, but we also have a link at the end of this presentation to the delegate handbook on OSBA's website. So we'll make sure we get that to you as well, so that you're able to review those ahead of time. Following the report of the Rules and Credentials Committee, we'll move on to the report of the Nominating Committee, and our past president, Chris Varwig, chaired the Nominating Committee, and so she'll present that report and make the recommendation that Mary Cleveland be elected as the 2025 OSBA president-elect. In the delegate handbook as well, there is information on page 13 about Mary and her work as a board member, so I encourage you to review that as well in preparation. Following that nominating committee report, we'll move on to the report of the CEO. And Dr. Kathy McFarland will share with you a State of the Association report and all of the work that has taken place at OSBA on your behalf this year. After we complete her report, we'll move into the report of the Legislative Platform Committee. And at that time, President-elect Tom Patterson, who was the chair of the Legislative Platform Committee, will stand and present each of the resolutions that have been recommended by the committee at their August meeting. We have 2 of those this year. You can see the first one here. It appears on lines 688 and 689 of that proposed platform in the delegate book. It would give OSBA's support to changing the law to allow districts to charge for labor costs directly associated with receiving and fulfilling a public records request. This was brought forth by a district who had a personnel issue with a very popular administrator, and the newspaper asked for lots of records from that district. And in pulling those, there was a lot of material that needed to be redacted and caused a lot of excess cost and time that the districts aren't able to recoup because of the way Ohio's law is currently written. So that would give support to changing the law and having us seek to change the law to allow districts to charge for that staff time. The second amendment that's being proposed deals with tax abatements, and it would give OSBA support to change the law to require that school levy money that's been voted upon to fund schools be exempt from tax increment financing and Community Reinvestment Act abatements. And so that would have us championing keeping those tax dollars for school funding purposes and not giving, tax breaks under those proposals. We have heard that we may have an amendment to this when it's considered at delegate assembly. A district is interested in adding to the list of those things that would be protected and adding residential improvement districts. So I'm not sure if that'll actually happen on the day, but wanted to give you a heads up, there may be an amendment to add that to that list of abatements and exemptions. After we consider those 2 amendments, we'll move into the next item on the agenda, which is the platform amendments introduced from the floor. Districts can bring a brand new amendment to the platform to delegate assembly. There is a different way to have those considered. And so in order for you to have something considered that day, you must have a resolution in hand from your board that is signed by the treasurer. The body has to second the motion to consider that. 2/3 of the delegates will need to vote in favor of considering the amendment that day that is new to the assembly. And then a motion and a second has to occur to adopt the amendment. And then once we've had discussion and debate, 3/4 vote would be needed to approve. I'm asking if you have something. I've not been notified anybody has anything, but if you are planning to bring something, if you could please share that ahead of time for a couple of reasons. One, we want to make sure that you're able to meet that first bar and that you have what you need to have that day, but also we want to make sure delegates have plenty of time to consider something, so we can actually send that out to delegates ahead of time so that they know about it, they can talk to their boards about it, and that they're prepared on that day. So again, I don't anticipate anything because I haven't heard about one, but if you are a district considering offering a platform amendment from the floor, please share that with us early so we can make sure that all of the boxes have been checked and that you're ready to go. The last couple items that are on the agenda are new business. We do not have anything that falls under that category as of yet. If something pops up, we will make sure we get that out to delegates so that you have that ahead of time. And then once we've completed that, President Green will make any closing remarks that she has and adjourn the meeting. So we're looking forward to our delegate assembly meeting. I think we should have a great turnout and a good, smooth time. We've got 2 links here that are important for you. The first, as I mentioned earlier, is our delegate handbook. It has all of the materials that you're going to need for that meeting that day. I encourage you to take the business that's going to be before the delegate assembly to your board and talk with them about how you should vote, and make sure that you come prepared to cast a vote on behalf of your full board that day. And then also there's a link to our Capitol Conference website. It is a wonderful website with lots of great information that will really help you ahead of time be able to plan your time with us at Capitol Conference and make sure you have a successful event. That is about all the information I have for you. I did put another slide in here just to recap. Our annual business meeting is Monday, the 11th at 2:30 in the Union Station Ballroom. Doors open at 2. You'll have your credentials scanned there, but please have your credentials checked before the meeting. There'll be a couple kiosks in the concourse at conference, as well as you can check that at registration as well. So please check beforehand just to make sure you're all set up and ready to go. If you have questions in the chat, we'll take those in a minute. But if you are watching this recording and you have questions, or maybe you have a question that pops up after this evening, please reach out to me directly. I am happy to make sure that you have the answers to those questions so that you're ready to go when we call the meeting to order on Monday, the 11th at 2:30. So if someone could read me any questions that might be in the chat that are unfulfilled, I'm not able to see the box.
Okay, one question is still pending. First time delegate, should I have received the handbook by now?
And the answer to that is yes. It was sent out in an email. It's also available on the website at that link. If you're not able to access it in either of those places, my email address is up there. Please send me an email and I'll make sure that I send you that link directly. That's the only question left.
That was the only question. I don't know if we're going to give. There's questions. Where is the link? Are we sending out the PowerPoint?
Yes, we will be sending out this PowerPoint. And in the message where we send it out, I'll also put the links in there again, just so that you make sure that you have those. We can't put it in too many places. We want to make sure you have that information. So tomorrow you'll get an email with the video, this PowerPoint, and then the link to the delegate handbook and the message as well. And you can access it through the PowerPoint too. Anything else? All right. If you think of something tonight or tomorrow or next week, please reach out and let us know. We are happy to make sure that you have what you need so that you're successful and are prepared for our meeting. And thank you again for joining us. And we are just so excited to see you in a couple of weeks at Capitol Conference.